Welcome everyone to Hack 11. We have made it. I hope everyone's as excited as we are. Glad to see such good turnout despite the challenging weather. Tonight we are going to take a look back. We're going to take a look back at where we've been throughout this entire process. We will do a final few Menti polls because we can't get enough of those and we know you love them too. So we'll help you all select a vision statement and then establish some goals for unit counts to be produced in the coming years, as well as funding at the county level and then from other participants in the county, including municipalities, private sector, and nonprofits. And then we're going to have a lot of time for sharing feedback about the process, for you all to network, and then also to celebrate. We do have this presentation, and then we actually, one thing I forgot to mention is that we have a strategy spotlight from the Realtors Association of South Central Wisconsin. They'll talk us through some of the recent legislative changes that are really going to impact and help with implementation going forward. So we thought it was important to spend a couple minutes there. We'll go through the Menti, and then we'll spend most of the evening in what we're calling celebration stations. We'll talk about those a little bit later, but we have some fun activities. There could be dancing if you're interested. We'll have Olivia put some music on, and then we'll spend a little bit of time coming back together at the end to just share out with the group on any feedback you have, anything you want to share about what you thought about the process, things you're excited about looking forward, and then there's more time at the end for networking as well. So nothing else to report here. We are at the end of the process. Thank you all for all of your hard work. Thank you for showing up and for being so dedicated to the work that we've been doing together. We have been working hard in the background drafting the overall report for the regional housing study and the strategic action plan. We want to provide the county, you all as members of the HAC, residents of the county, everyone who's interested in housing and addressing the housing issues, a really digestible summary of the work that we've done. We know some of it is very technical. It was sometimes hard to make it through the meetings because of the amount of content. And so we'll be providing a really graphic, heavy, narrative-focused report with a technical appendix that has all the data that some of you might be interested in. But the idea is make sure that this is approachable, that people can read it and really understand what the issues are and then what the plan is for addressing housing. What you'll see in your presentation in the packet, these are just some graphics to remind you of where we've been through the process. Don't think that this is what you're going to, the only things that you'll see in the report. There's a lot of content, but again, we wanted to just give a real quick recap of where we've been because it has been 11 full months and it's kind of hard to think back to last September and where we started in terms of data and just establishing the baseline for this study. I'll run through just kind of the chapter structure of the report. First, we'll start with existing conditions. We'll provide an overview of the county itself, making sure that everybody fully understands and appreciates the breadth of types of communities within the county and all the different types of housing and communities throughout the entire county. We have to establish what we mean when we talk about affordability. You'll remember that we talked a lot about what does affordable housing mean? It means different things to different people. What do we mean by that for this study? So we'll establish that early on. We will talk about racial disparities in housing. We spent time with this early on, so there will be data from the original analysis, and beyond sharing that, we'll also provide a recap of the content that we covered during Hack 3, when we really dug deeper into historical and ongoing racism within the county and the impacts of that. We'll also spend time talking about what does housing look like in the county. So we'll cover demographics, who's living in the county, but what does the housing look like? What's being developed recently? What does it cost? And go into the further details about how vacancy has been declining, costs going up, reminder of how we ended up at the place we are today in terms of a housing crisis. There's a full chapter on housing affordability. This covers both the cost burden for different demographics within the county, but then also digs into what are the different types of affordable housing in the county. You'll remember we talked about legally restricted affordable housing. We talked about naturally occurring affordable housing, what those things mean, where those units are, and what the shortages are. So all of this will be documented and shown in the report. We'll also talk about what we are calling the big squeeze. So this is the gap that we have between who lives in the county and the units that are available, and where we have pressures in terms of who can access housing and where there's a need for additional housing. We cover that for both renters and then also on the home ownership side. Also in that affordability section and thinking about the overall housing needs, we have the forecast. So thinking forward to 2050, how many housing units do you need? I think we spent an entire meeting or portion of a meeting kind of talking through some of these details and the idea that there are over 100,000 new units are needed by 2015 within the county to serve the need. And the idea that everyone here and all of the communities in the county really have a role to play in terms of providing the ability to meet some of that need for housing. And you'll see some of those production targets and forecasts that are broken down by how many new senior housing units are needed, how many affordable housing units are needed. All of that information will be provided in the report. There's a full chapter on engagement. So this has been really important to this whole process. Beyond the Housing Advisory Committee, this has been a really in-depth and ongoing form of engagement with all of you really involved. I think we've had average attendance at the HAC. It's really ranged, I guess, from 40, 45 people to 65 people attending each of these meetings, which is amazing. I've not been a part of a process where we've had so much participation all the way to the end. So it really is a testament to the interest and just dedication that you all are showing to addressing this issue. But beyond the HAC, we had 6 focus groups back in the fall. We've done stakeholder interviews. You'll remember we had a community survey where over 6,000 residents of the county participated and shared information on what they thought about housing needs. So you'll find all of that data and summaries in the report as well. And of course, all of that feedback really informed the thinking about what the needs are and what the priorities are of the regional housing strategy. We also did the PIRA, the Program Inventory and Resource Assessment. Thank you again to everyone who participated in that and provided really rich data on what's actually happening in the county now. That will all be summarized and shared out so that you all have access to the information. And finally, there's a chapter fully about implementation. This is where we've really been focused over the past couple of months. So I think it's fresh in your memories. You'll see actually in your packet tonight, you have an updated matrix, the implementation matrix that has the final housing priorities, it has strategies, and then refined action steps and partners. We'll still work with the county on finalizing that before you see the draft report, but that has advanced from the last meeting based on all of your feedback. And again, this section is really forward-looking. What are the overarching priorities? What are the goals? How are we going to get there? And this should really form the basis for addressing the issues that have been identified throughout the entire process. So with that, thank you all again for your hard work. We hope that, when you see the report, that you'll see that it's reflecting all of the hard work that's been done and the path forward. So we really appreciate the entire process and hope that it's been meaningful for all of you and that, the result really is going to help you think about implementation and addressing some of the biggest issues in the county going forward. So with that, I will ask Robert Proctor to come up and share some of the details on recent legislation.
Hi, I'm Robert Proctor. I'd like to thank everybody for the year we've spent together. I certainly got much more out of this than I put into it, so it's been really a pleasure. So just to go real quickly, there's 5 bipartisan new laws that were just passed, and more exciting that there was $500 million put into the budget by the governor, which was passed in order to fund these bills. And the nice thing about these bills is they're going to tie into what we did here, and I'll get to that in a second. So the first bill was the residential housing infrastructure loan, and I'm going to go fast because if you want more information, you can get these slides. And on the slides, you'll see that I have the links to the act itself, which you can read, the legislative memo that explains what the law does, and also the WIDA guidelines where some of the money is going to come to. So the Residential Housing Infrastructure Loan Program is going to be a loan that's going to be loan program implemented by WIDA, which will allow loans for the infrastructure for single-family housing, workforce housing. It will help to reduce the cost to create housing by reducing the cost to put in the roads, sewers, water, and all the infrastructure that goes in. That's a huge part of the cost that that increases the price. What's interesting about it, in order for developments to be eligible for it, the municipality that it is in will have to pass or have to show that it's adopted ordinances and policies that will bring down the price of housing or create more housing in their municipality. So when we talk about the implementation part of what we all did here, that's exactly what a municipality can take back and act on in order to be eligible to be in these programs that WIDA is going to administer for the state. So I think that's really exciting, and it would be a carrot to take back to all of our member municipalities as a carrot to have some of these strategies adopted. The Main Street Housing Rehabilitation Loan Program. This is a loan program that is intended to create. So when you drive down your normal Main Street, whether it's Cambridge or Waterloo, my hometown of South Milwaukee, you'll see all of these buildings with like first floor commercial and apartments on the second floor or maybe the third floor, and a lot of them are in disrepair. This program will provide loans in order to rehab that type of housing on the second floor of those type of commercial/mixed use. A lot of that being the missing middle we're talking about, or naturally occurring low affordable housing. And so this is just another program that's going to be funded by the state and administered by WIDA. And again, in order for these loans to be used in municipality, the municipality will have to have adopted strategies and ordinances that would create more housing. And this is going to start really quick. They anticipate the loan program for fall of this year. So if you're looking into it and interested, you should go to the WIDA website and see their information on it. By right approval and development certainty. This was, maybe unfortunately, but was labeled the NIMBY law. This was the law that was entitled, the statute, to try to make it more clear, the approval process. I think most people would look at this act and say it really just clarifies what was already true, that if you come forward, if a landowner comes forward with a project that's allowed under the current zoning and the comprehensive plan, that they're entitled to approval, which is generally the law, and that it clarifies that if they don't get their approval, that they can go to court and get a mandamus. As an attorney who works in this area, it was a lot more gray on how all those procedures work, so that cleared it up. The other thing it does is it limits what we call standing, the ability for people to sue municipalities when they approve projects. Right now, prior to this statute, it was pretty easy for people to file lawsuits. You didn't see them as much here, but a lot in the southeastern part of the state. It was a strategy that people would file lawsuits in order to derail approved projects, whether they would be multifamily or residential projects they didn't like, and drag the lawsuits out so that people couldn't develop them. And after a certain amount of time, they would add, could add millions of dollars to the project. So this limits the number of people who have standing to sue a municipality. And then the Workforce Housing Rehabilitation Loan. And this is a loan that's intended to go to homeowners that have existing stock. So we always talked about there's all of this existing stock in a lot of our municipalities that is workforce housing that that people maybe can't improve and so forth. So this is a loan this is a loan that, and some municipalities already have it. I know for example, the city of Monona has a similar project, a similar type loan program, but it's intended to allow workforce, people that own housing in a certain bracket to be able to get low-income loans. And some of them are actually, from what I'm hearing now, grants in order to rehab their properties. And then the commercial housing conversion loan program. This will be a program, so you start looking at commercial properties that are no longer in use, that may be difficult to convert to housing, whether it's a big box that has been vacant for a long period of time, or some sort of commercial building on a main street someplace. And this program will provide funding loans for those type of conversions. Again, these will be lower interest loans, much more feasible to allow somebody to redevelop a site that would otherwise they may not be able to redevelop. And again, in order to be eligible for it, the municipality has to have implemented, starting in 2023, programs that would create more housing in their area. So that should be all of them. And so I think those are extremely exciting. The fact that they happened at the same time as our program kind of ties a nice bow on the program, that, you know, we can take what we did here back to our municipalities, implement them, and be eligible for them. And I should say we do have two people in our group, Representative Ratcliffe and Jacobson, who both voted for those programs. So that was very nice. So thank you.
Robert, I just have a quick question. Is there anything in legislation that dictates the community size, or is this all over? Is it for all municipalities? Is there more of a rural or an urban emphasis, or is it specific? Is it?
It's all municipalities.
Okay.
There may be for the Main Street one some limitations on it, but those would be Milwaukee and Madison. But I think it's all of them.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's fantastic news. And if anybody has any more questions, I think they can ask Robert or Professor Paulson during our breakout time. So the next on our agenda is the vision statement, and I'm excited to share with you some vision statements that we've come up with between the county and the project team. They're really an important part of the strategic action plan that helps to provide the structure and guide its implementation over the coming years. And you'll be invited to, through the Mentee, pick your favorite one. And then during the implementation, during the celebration stations, if you have any further comments about the vision statements, you can leave them at my table. I'm at the implementation table. So if these don't particularly suit your fancy, comments are welcome at the implementation table where I will be. So, right. So I guess I'm going to read them now. Are you ready? Yeah. Okay. So they were based on the core values. Obviously, all the work we've done, the priorities that you identified, and the core values, in case you don't remember, are equity, economic growth, affordability, accountability, empowerment, and sustainable development. This is a vision statement that is supposed to be guiding our work for the next 20 years, so it's really important that we get it right, and it inspires not only us, but the people who read it. So the first one is, before you go to the Mentee, I'm just going to read them out loud. The RHS embraces an equitable and environmentally suitable vision for housing, where resilient and connected neighborhoods with a variety of housing types for all residents are our basis for continued economic growth and prosperity. Number 2, the RHS envisions an equitable and environmentally sustainable future where all residents have access to quality and affordable housing in connected neighborhoods. Number 3, the RHS embodies a Dane County community committed to increasing access to quality, sustainable, affordable housing for all residents. So take a minute, read them over.
Yeah, so we can take a minute there and just scan the QR code, or you can go to mentee.com and enter that code at the top, and that code will stay at the top once we move to the next slide. As a reminder, there are the vision statements in case you need them. Go back to the, yeah, sure. We can start to see the breakdown there. Option 2 so far in the lead. And there are other questions that Olivia is going to talk about before we get into them, so you can feel free to wait on answering the other questions. Olivia will have some good intro on those. Great. You can continue to vote if you need more time, but looks like option 2 is the favorite so far, with option 1 a little bit behind, but you never know.
It's a sort of a snapshot of what we're doing in the county, and I think it's a very exciting snapshot. Putting this together, I was excited to learn that between 2020 and 2023, the city, all the municipalities together, and Madison Workforce Development Fund combined provided $115 million in funding to address affordable housing in the county. That's from 2020 to 2023. I just wanted to give you a snapshot of this before we go into these exercises, because we are going to be asking you, I'm going to be asking you what your unit target and your funding target for affordable housing is over the next 3 to 5 years. Just want to point out the municipalities on their own between 2020 and 2023 provided over $29 million in funding towards affordable housing. And the private sector, Madison Development Corp, $8,600,000, and you can see the further breakdowns on the following sheets. And then I didn't have complete information for housing rehab and acquisition, but we're averaging about 25 units a year in housing rehab and acquisition for single family housing. So I just wanted to share this with you, and if you have any questions, the one thing I do want to say is about these two. I want to say two things about this worksheet I put together. It's not complete, but it's very close to being complete, and this is a helpful reference for what we're trying to do. It's sort of like a baseline for this activity that we're going to do now. So it really is evidence of all the great work that's happening, and I just was very excited to share that information with you, and as I said, feel free to ask me any questions during the breakout. So the next thing is so in order to figure out like what our targets are, this is a good way to think about them. So right now, between 2022 and 2020 and 2022, we're averaging, because we don't have 23 data, we're averaging about 599 units of affordable housing between the city and county and Madison Development Corp. In 2022, it was about 973 units, and I want to bring that to your attention so when we look at these next slides, you'll understand. So the question here we're asking is, right now we are currently at a rate of closing the housing supply gap in 25 years. In approximately 25 years, or actually more than 25 years. That's if we provided additional affordable housing units, 933 a year. If we wanted to close the housing gap sooner, say maybe in 20 years, we would have to be producing 1,160 units a year. If we wanted to be producing, and that's, you can see the breakdown, some of it's in the city and some of it's in the county. And then if we wanted to close the housing gap in 15 years, we have to be producing 1,550 units a year. So sort of at the current rate, we'd be looking at 25 years. So the question I'm about to ask you is how many units would you like to produce above what we are producing on average now? Have I made that clear? Have I made that clear? What you're going to be asked to do? Okay. And the reason we're using 20% in these statistics is because typically 20% or 20 to 25% of any given population, those are low to moderate income. We're being very conservative by only using 20%. So yeah. So the question we have for you are the funding. Wait. Okay, we stay here? Okay, and then where do we? You have to pull up the Menti. Okay, so the question is, how many units a year over the next 5 years? The strategic action plan is from 2024 to 2028. Additional units a year do you want to target for production? Okay. Everyone started.
Yeah, so unit targets are the next two questions on your Menti.
Does everyone need another minute? Raise your hand if you need another minute. How many? units, new construction, affordable housing, above what we're doing this year for the next a year for the next 5 years. Okay, that's our target. Great. The next question is, around how many existing affordable units would you like to see acquired and preserved annually as affordable housing in Dane County? Single family, recent acquisition rehab averages about 25 units annually. That's acquisition rehab, habitat, Madison Area Community Land Trust housing, single family affordable units. We're averaging about 25. How much would you like that to grow over the next 5 years? Okay, you already, okay. Great, okay. Okay, we're gonna go back to the presentation. And the third question, around how many total units of housing, including affordable and market rate units, would you like to see produced annually in Dane County? Recent production averages 1,200 units annually. Would you like to see less than 1,200, 1,200, 2,500, 5,000, more than 5,000 a year for the next 5 years? What are our strategic action plan targets? Is everyone finished with that? Okay, now we're going to move to funding targets. The question I have for you, from the current baseline of 7 million averaged from 2020 to 2022, now in 2023, both the city and the county did raise their affordable housing funds, loan fund to 10 million. How much additional funding should Dane County, this is just a Dane County question, aim to contribute for affordable housing goals? Less than 5 million, 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, or more than 15 million? That's a year for the next 5 years. From the current baseline of 7 million, how much additional funding, how much additional funding should Dane County aim to contribute for affordable housing per year for the next 5 years? Okay, we're going to go to the last and final question. This is just Dane County, what we're asking Dane County to do. Dane County government, local government. We do bond financing for the Affordable Housing Fund. So yeah, right. So the last and final question, funding target, from the current baseline estimate about 15 million, how much additional funding should Dane County municipalities, this is the cities, villages, and towns, together with the private sector and nonprofits, aim to contribute to affordable housing goals? Less than 5 million, 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, or more than 15 million? From the current baseline of about 15 million on average, how much additional funding should Dane County municipalities, cities, villages, and towns, not including Dane County, and the private sector and nonprofits, aim to contribute for affordable housing goals? Less than 5 million, 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, or more than 15 million? Good. Are we done?
Looks like number 1 isn't showing on there, maybe because of the little addendum there, but looks like number 1 is more than 15 million, I presume, which is why 15 million is on number 2.
All right, everyone, as promised, we're going to celebrate. It's time. You all have worked so hard, dedicated. This is a lot of meetings, time. You're coming together to work. We want to celebrate you. So let's first talk about swag. Please, only 1 hat per person. We know they're really cool. If you want more, we can talk to Olivia about them. There are magnets. These are not stickers. Stickers scare me. These are magnets. You can put them anywhere. You have keychains, and as well as, if anyone remembers the first meeting, this is a little full circle moment. Feel free to bring your cards home if you want to show people. But we'll talk through the station. So right here, you'll be with Olivia, and this is an implementation station where you can talk about next steps, any thoughts about the process, and the vision as well. There'll be comment cards. Right here, this is Hack video interviews, which Olivia did hint to in her interview. This is time and space for you to reflect on the process and let all of Dane County know how this process has been for you, what surprised you, how important this is, and the next steps. So Fran will be helping you with that, and we would love to hear your thoughts, and these will be used in further videos.
So as part of this process, Greenleaf Media is doing a 5-minute video for us to sort of summarize all this work that we've done, as well as a 90-second video. And so if you have any comments or thoughts, it'd be great to capture them on video. We'll include them, edit them into the overall summary, because explaining this to people would be a very long and difficult thing. So please feel free to come up and make your comments, any thoughts you have, people you learned about, and that will be this footage will be used for them.
Thank you so much. That was very important in Dane County work to have that within the scope, so they making sure that this is accessible and spread the word about all of your hard work. As many of you seen and many been distracted by, this is the RHS friendship bracelets. This is a great networking table. For you, all those that like kinesthetic, tactile things to do, you can do fun bracelets that spell like Hack for Life. Or maybe Dane County for All, housing affordability. Be creative. Tina will help you at this station. And just have some fun. This one is a little reflection. So we're going to have some postcards to your future self. In about a year, Dane County is going to send a postcard to you with things that you wrote to hopefully think about accountability, what this meant to you, so that in a year you can think about how far Dane County and yourself have come through implementation. And then the last in the corner is with me, Abigail. And this is partnership photos. You can see my beautiful model in the background, Sam. We have props that we made. Think about partners that you've made that you didn't know before this throughout Dane County. Think about how much time you spent together, telling each other your thoughts, why this is a crisis for all of Dane County. Come together, get some great photos, and we will capture those for you to use and celebrate for all the partnerships. We'll do this about for 40 minutes, and then we'll come back together as a group to do some reflection. But please eat, drink, talk to your neighbors, and go through all the stations. And I think Olivia has one more thing to say.
Yeah, please feel free to eat. We have a lot of food out there, and I don't think we could take it home. We're going to put on some music, and then we're going to come back at the end, like Abigail said, and then I have to wrap some things up with next steps and the Regional Housing Strategy Implementation Committee. So enjoy yourselves, eat some food, fun activities. Thank you.
One of the most exciting things about this process is the engagement of the various individuals that have played a part in this from the start to the finish. It wasn't just Dane County. We had municipalities, nonprofits, people who are interested in the housing and the housing issue within our area. So I think that that was important for people to know.
One of the biggest things I think that there was a benefit here was engaging with a lot of the people from the other municipalities and explaining what really goes on in the township. As we don't have the resources that a lot of cities or villages do. We're pretty much out there with nothing.
It has been interesting to differentiate all of the specific needs depending on the demographics. We have, for example, an aging population, but the housing needs, you can see, are needed all across Dane County and every size municipality.
So having everyone together working towards the same goal of increasing access to affordable housing and how we move forward with that has been really refreshing to just see all the different minds working together.
The most exciting thing has been just working with my peers and other organizations across the county who are doing the same or similar work that I'm doing. I'm getting to bounce ideas off of people, getting to collaborate, and getting to just get excited with others.
So for me, I guess the most exciting part of the process is just being able to be an impactful member of such an important mission, if you will. To be able to come together with so many different such a diverse group of people that are impacted and invested in the community, and be able to have your perspective heard and hear their perspective is actually really exciting. It's really exciting to feel like you're a part of your community, like you're able to make a difference, you're able to impact those, especially when there are so many who don't have a voice and aren't able to sit at the table.
To be able to sit down at a table with alders or city planners and nonprofit leaders and equity leaders and Madison College reps. I mean, it was really neat to make, those connections, build those relationships, and have confidence that this isn't just a City of Madison thing, or this isn't just an East Side of Madison thing. This really is a countywide issue, and there's a lot of folks that want to do something about it.
So the next up is a traveling mic. Traveling mic, as in we're going to pass this mic around. We're down to one mic, unfortunately. And we want to ask, what was your biggest takeaway from this process? And then what are you most excited about regarding the implementation? And then I'm going to close with some implementation discussion and what's up next. Okay, I'm going to hand this to you. Anybody want to share?
I think Tina's going to do it.
Oh, Tina's going to do it.
Everyone, welcome Tina!
Yay!
Does anybody want to share any exciting thought? This has been a long process. It's been 11 months. There's been so much information thrown at you, and you guys have given us so much. So, would anybody like to share?
Viola? Yeah, of course, I would share anything. Yes, I'm the thespian.
Oh, we have some sparkling cider we're passing around.
So
please,
I
please
think one of the biggest takeaways from this process is the fact that we're actually doing this process. I mean, you think about 10, 15 years ago, I don't even know that having this type of a conversation and where we are and what we need would have even taken place in any shape, form, or fashion. And not just that, but how we're trying to be inclusive in that process. So even if they did have this conversation, me and my community may have not necessarily have been engaged in an appropriate way, because you told me what you think I need, as opposed to asking me what is it that I need. And it would usually be from a WASP perspective, right, on some levels. And if nobody knows what that means, that's white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant sort of a thing, as opposed to asking me from a cultural perspective of what I need. So that would be the first biggest takeaway from this process. What are you most excited about regarding this RHS implementation? The implementation, okay, yes. The fact that we are looking to actually do the implementation is one, to talk a good talk, but to actually take action and actually follow, and not just action, but follow through. And it's what the people look like in this county, and it reflects us as a county. Then that right there is exciting enough, because we will be leaving a legacy for our children to follow and behind us and do even better than us, because it's all about people. And when we talk about this process, no matter what you talk about, whether it's housing, transportation, access, we're talking about people and the quality of people's lives. And that right there is exciting enough to make us all jump up and down if we can give everybody in Dane County a better quality of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Viola. And I mean, we can't thank everybody here enough for how dedicated everyone here has been, giving their thoughts and their feedback and their expertise. So absolutely right. Anybody else?
What was your biggest takeaway, or what are you most excited about regarding RHS implementation, if anything?
We can't follow that.
Yeah, you can.
Did you learn anything? Did you learn anything? Did you make any new friends? Raise your hand if you met new people.
keep going. Sorry. One, two, too many to count. Everybody.
So you made new connections. Great. Did you guys learn anything? Raise your hand if you learned anything. Fantastic. Fantastic.
There we go. That being said, any thoughts on like how it was meeting new people and finding those partners to implement this and getting the report done and seeing everything come together after so long?
So
Ian,
yeah.
could you just introduce yourself to the audience?
Oh yeah, I'm Ian. Hey everybody, I'm Ian. How y'all doing?
Ian, turn around, cause he know
sorry.
he keep videotaping your back.
Hey, I'm Ian. So I don't really know where to stand now, but I'm here. So what I'll say, one of my biggest takeaways from this was that at learning moments was that I realized that we truly have to do this together. There's no other way to do it, and that's really all I can say about that. The other thing that was super cool about this was it first of all allowed you to put faces with email signatures. It allowed you to see people that you normally don't actually get to see in person, and then it also allowed us the opportunity to kind of really get inside what some of these other people that we partner with or work in other offices or entities that we don't have any connection with, and we really got the opportunity to see what they do, you know, how their motor works, and I mean it just really for me allowed things to be a lot more equitable, a lot more understood, and a lot more inclusive, and I think that was the goal, and so it was accomplished.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Any other thoughts, takeaways? Exciting?
Has anybody else ever been involved in a process like this? I know I haven't. Year-long strategic planning process, you have? Okay, great. Yes? Okay. Did this compare? How did it compare?
More fun. Sweet.
Yeah.
Anyone? Right here.
I can ditto everything that's been said, but what my takeaway is that it's not all about Dane County. And what I heard was views from all over regionally, and I was so impressed. And I was just writing things down because I never thought of it that way. And so having a regional look at what will work for, you know, all of us was very, very impressive for me. And so I was a guest, so I sat on the outside, but I learned so much because there was someone who was talking from Middleton, and I thought, I never thought of it that way. So it just gave a cross-directional forwardness for how we're going to tackle the housing. And it's just not for Dane County, it's that how do we make well-being for everyone? And that's what I left here.
Thank you. Do we have any other thoughts? Anybody else want to share?
What are you going to miss? Just kidding. Just kidding.
Well, there's something to be said about that.
Absolutely.
There's a lot to be said about that.
Right. Yeah, because we're not going to have this.
Right.
But maybe we should. Maybe we should have this.
Maybe
Once a
we
year,
should.
come together.
It's
Yeah.
the engagement, I mean, maybe once a quarter to follow up so that we can know where we are.
Right,
You know.
right. Well, I'm going to talk about next steps at the end of this.
The next steps, yeah, okay. Y'all heard my big mouth, right?
No, we love you, Theo. Go ahead.
I was just saying that maybe we should continue to engage so that we can keep up with the progress of where we are and get some reports, and maybe even, because we can make a great plan. And as a person who does strategy, we can make a great plan, but that don't mean that bumps don't come up and then you have to pivot and then do other things so that you can make things work. So it might be in our best interest, you know, once a year or twice a year to get back together to see where things are. That's all.
Yeah, right. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second.
I think I misspoke. I said Dane County. It wasn't all about just Madison because I've been focusing in on housing for Madison. And so this absolutely had me to begin to look at not just Madison, but how can we approach this regionally. That's what I'm taking away.
Yeah, no, we knew. We was with you.
We were with you.
I misspoke.
We were with you. We were there.
Yeah. you, everybody.
That's right. So I'm just going to talk about a little bit about next steps and where we're headed from here, because I just want to tell you, first of all, how personally relieved I am. This has been a huge lift for the last couple of years, but in the last year. And it's been tremendous to do this with you. I feel like we kind of all together like built this boat, and now we're going to kind of move the boat forward together. Implementation, the next 5 years. Okay, a little bit about what we're going to do next. But I'm so impressed and grateful and thankful for all of you and all the work that you do and the expertise you bring to these meetings every month. You'll get a final draft of the report in about 6 weeks. If you would like to receive intermittent drafts, you need to let me know that, because there are going to be a lot of drafts going back and forth between me and the SB Friedman and the project team. Otherwise, you're going to just get the final draft report and be able to make some comments then, but it's going to be pretty close to done. So if you want to get those intermittent drafts, please let me know, send me an email, come up to me, give me your name on a piece of paper or something, and let me know you want to be part of that drafting process. But we're going to have a final draft report in about 6 weeks. In October, end of October, we're going to be doing a kickoff, hopefully with the executive and the county board chair, maybe even the mayor, for the RHS Strategic Action Plan, which is what we have developed over the last year. And in October and November, our main job is going to be disseminating the report to our municipalities, to our networks, countywide, to as many people as we can, as well as the video distribution. And then in terms of how we're going to move forward, we're forming what's called the RIC, the RHS Implementation Committee. And we're going to meet every month or so. Sometimes we're going to meet in person. Sometimes we're going to meet online. And what I want to do right now is ask for, I need about 10 people to sign up for the executive committee. And the executive committee, thank you. The executive committee, I'll tell you what the executive committee is going to be doing. As I develop agendas, as we developing RFPs, we're in the midst of doing work. I need, hey, all of a sudden something happened. I need a group of people I can send out and bounce an idea off of, or something happened with the venue. What should we do? Should we cancel the meeting? These kinds of things. I'm not asking you to meet anymore. I just need a group of people that's going to be sort of my sounding board, because I can't work with all of you, but I need a group of people, and I'm asking for a commitment of 1 year, so 12 months. So I need 10 people to sign up for the executive committee. This is a partnership, so I really need 10 people to sign up for the executive committee for the next year. I'm not sure we'll meet 12 times, probably 10, but one of the great things about this list, our strategic action plan, which is right here, is that not everybody's going to be doing everything, Sometimes I'll be facilitating meetings because they're related to planning and development. Sometimes maybe Ashley Bowwick from the Housing Access and Affordability Division will be facilitating meetings because she knows a lot more about homelessness or renter issues. So there should be opportunities to move in and out of the RHS implementation committee over the next 5 years, but particularly in the next year. So some people have said this seems a little overwhelming, and because we're all working on this together, working to take these actions together, I think it's a lot easier to think about moving this forward. And it's really going to be my job over the next 5 years, because I will be here for the next 5 years, to help facilitate, support, coordinate these action steps moving forward. Oops.
How should people communicate to you if they want to be on your executive committee?
Let me know before you leave. I have a little, yeah.
We started
Put it on a
the
sticky and hand it to me.
We started the list.
Jean needs the list.
And our meetings are going to be online, so we're not going to be coming to, you're not going to have to get in the car and drive somewhere. It's going to be a lot easier. And then I'm anticipating that we're going to have the first RIC meeting, Regional RHS Implementation Committee meeting, in the beginning of October. And I want to ask a question right now. Day evening or meeting evening? Day evening, raise your hand.
Day meeting.
Okay, evening meeting, raise your hand.
Either?
Either? Okay, some people are not raising their hands either. Okay. And the first meeting we're going to do is actually talk about our work priorities for the first year. So you have come up with some amazing strategies for us to implement, all of us to implement over the next 5 years. We need to start winnowing this down. What are we going to prioritize in year one? Not all the 5 years, but what do we need to prioritize right away? And you've said some of that in your meeting, as part of this process. So I have a sense, but there are a lot of things on this list. So I need to know from you guys what you want to prioritize for 2024. The last thing I want to say is that in this strategic action plan, I put a placeholder strategy about corridor planning. While we're going through the sort of strategic, deciding on what the action items should be for the plan, the regional experts, CARPC and the MPO, and I just want to shout out to Alexander Andros, who's the director of the NPO, sitting in the back. Could you say hi and stand up for a second so everyone can see you?
Stand up.
And then Sean Higgins is here from CARPC. Because our strategic action plan is really 3 to 5 years, we're not really thinking long-term planning, but they are the experts in the room in terms of long-term planning, and I think it's really important that we have some action items that refer to our long-term planning, because we absolutely need to plan for growth. I've heard from many of you over the years that you feel like we're being overrun. All you're seeing is McMansions everywhere, and I think it's really important that we do some long-term planning. And there's a placeholder, and I do remember Chris Ellers in the beginning saying that he said one of the things that would help him as a developer is to do corridor planning, is to do some planning that actually defines what you want to see happen in your community versus the developers defining what's going to happen in your community. So you'll see a few action items after I consult with them that relate to long-term planning and transportation. And then I think that's it. So do you have any questions about the RIC? Yes.
Who are those flowers for?
We're getting to that. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the elected officials, Heidi Wegleitner, who's in the room, the mayor's left. Well, Supervisor Engelberger, any more elected officials in the room, thank you so much for your leadership. We've got 2 alders in the room from the city. You guys want to introduce yourselves really quickly? Stand up and introduce yourselves.
I'm Amari Latimer-Burris. I am a newbie. I did not get to participate in this for the last 12 sessions, but another alder introduced me to that because I wrote a resolution on making a task force. And I was trying to explain it, and then one day she put me on a Zoom with Olivia after I saw the binder that I was trying to get from my partner here, and it's like, I had to come tonight because I have to get the binder, because I have to do this, because this is so exciting. It's an opportunity for all of us to come together and to integrate and to hear about other problems and think ahead and create the Madison that we want to live in. Everybody. Like, this is amazing. Okay. And this is what I want to do. So
awesome. Thank you for being here. And Alder McKinney, do you want to introduce yourselves? I don't think everybody knows you.
So I'm Alder Barbara Harrington McKinney, and I was the one that brought in the others, and so this is exactly what we were thinking of, and then this table was already set, so I invited them, and so we're really excited about it. So great. My district is the far west side of Madison.
Fantastic, thank you. So I just want to say thank you to the elected officials, all of you Housing Advisory Committee members. You have done a tremendous amount of work over the last year, and I'm very grateful, and I really think that you came up with an amazing set of priorities and strategies and action items for us to work on. I also want to thank the sponsors. Can you bring me that sponsor board for a second? So one of our big sponsors is obviously the Realtors Association. I really want to thank Bob Proctor. If it wasn't for the sponsors, we would not have had Matthew Rockledge, we wouldn't have had staff, we wouldn't have this lovely food, we wouldn't have the venues. Dane County actually provided the funding for the consultants, and we had a lot of sponsors who are right here, I can't name them all, who helped make the program possible, and I'm really, really appreciative for you. So thank you so much for all the sponsors. And then last but certainly not least, SB Friedman and all together, you guys were fantastic. I just want you to come up here because I have some flowers for you. I thank you so much for all your great work. Let's a round of applause. worked their tails off
Yes, they
over the
did.
last year. They worked their tails off. And I don't know how much you understand how difficult it is to end one of these meetings and turn around and start planning immediately for the next one. They were amazing to work with, top-notch professionals. I'm a very demanding client. I'm sure I drove them through the roof. It must have been horrible. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. You were fantastic. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah. Yes, and I do want to say, yes, I'm going to list them all. So, Fran LaForte-Rude, Sam, Tina, Abigail, Marissa, who did an amazing job, and Karen, who had a baby. Zane, we can't wait to meet you. But Karen Kay was, a fantastic leader during most of this process. So I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Fantastic job. Thank you. Well done. And so, and finally, I just want to say thank you for thinking like a region, and I'm really looking forward to working with all of you moving this project forward. Excellent job. Well done.